All right, today we're diving into James Clear's Atomic Habits. It's a book built on a surprisingly simple idea, but an idea that has totally transformed how millions of people think about getting better. So let's get right into it.
You know the feeling, right? It's that New Year's energy. You make all these promises to yourself. You're going to finally break those bad habits. You're going to build good ones. You tell yourself, okay, this is the year. But then, a few weeks later, you're right back where you started. So how do we actually make change that lasts?
Take a look at this number on your screen, 37.78. What on earth do you think that represents? It seems kind of random, I know, but trust me, it is the absolute key to everything.
That number, that's what happens if you get just 1% better at something every single day for a year. You end up nearly 38 times better than when you started. And that is the core idea of Atomic Habits. Tiny, almost invisible improvements that stack up to create incredible results. So let's really dig into this 1% difference. We're all wired to think that if we want big success, we need to take some kind of massive, heroic action. But the real secret? It's the small stuff. It's the tiny improvements that you barely even notice day to day. Think of it like this. It's a great analogy. Imagine a plane flying from New York all the way to LA. If the pilot adjusts the nose of the plane just 3 degrees south, that's a tiny, tiny shift. You wouldn't even feel it. But you wouldn't land in Los Angeles. You'd end up somewhere near Tijuana, Mexico. The exact same thing is true for our habits. A small, daily shift can send you to a completely different destination in life.
Now here's the really important part. Compounding is a two-way street. Getting 1% better every day, that gets you that amazing 38 times improvement. But getting 1% worse every day, that basically grinds you down to zero. Success isn't about some huge one-time transformation. It is literally the product of your daily habits.
And this right here, this is why most of us give up. We expect our progress to look like a straight line going up. But in reality, there's always this period at the beginning where it feels like nothing is happening. James Clear calls this the valley of disappointment. It's that frustrating gap where you're putting in the work, but you're not seeing the results yet. And it's exactly where most people quit, right before things are about to take off.
So how do we get through that valley? How do we make sure we stick with it long enough for that compounding magic to happen? Well, this leads us to a huge mindset shift. It's not about your goals. It's all about your systems.
Now, this is a big one. We are constantly told to set big, audacious goals. But Clear says something pretty radical. If you completely ignored your goals and focused only on improving your system, you would still end up succeeding.
So let's be clear about the difference. A goal is the result you want to achieve, right? A system is the process that leads to that result. And here's the thing. Winners and losers in any field, they usually have the exact same goals. Every Olympian wants a gold medal. What separates them? Their system of training. Goals are good for setting a direction, but systems are what actually get you there.
Okay, so we need good systems. Fantastic. But how do we actually, build them? This is where Clear gives us an amazing, practical toolkit, the 4 laws of behavior change.
But first, you have to understand what he calls the habit loop. Every single habit you have, good or bad, follows these 4 steps. There's a cue, which triggers a craving, which motivates a response, which leads to a reward. So your phone buzzes, that's the cue. You feel the urge to know who messaged you, the craving. You pick up the phone, the response. And you satisfy that curiosity, the reward. The 4 laws are all about hacking this very loop.
And here they are. The 4 laws give us a simple blueprint for building any good habit. You need to make it obvious, make it attractive, make it easy, and make it satisfying. Let's look at a couple of really powerful ways to put these into practice. For the first law, make it obvious. One of the best tricks is something called habit stacking. It's so simple. You just link the new habit you want to build to one you already have. So instead of a vague goal like, I'll try to stretch more, you make a concrete plan. After I brush my teeth in the morning, I will stretch for 5 minutes. Brushing your teeth becomes the super obvious trigger. And then there's this one. This one is a total game changer. From Law 3, make it easy. It's called the 2-minute rule. The idea is that any new habit you start has to take less than 2 minutes. That's it. So read 30 books this year becomes read 1 page. Run a marathon becomes put on my running shoes. The goal isn't to do everything at once. The goal is to master the art of just showing up. The rest will follow. So that's how you build good habits. But what about the ones we desperately want to get rid of? Well, here's the beautiful part about this whole framework. It works just as well in reverse. You just flip the script. The logic is so simple, it's brilliant. You just invert each law. Instead of making it obvious, you make it invisible. Trying to cut back on junk food? Just get it out of your house. Instead of making it easy, you make it difficult. You add friction. Want to watch less TV? Unplug it and put the remote in another room after you use it. It's all about designing your environment so that the lazy choice is the healthy choice.
And this brings us to what is, for me, the deepest and most powerful idea in the entire book. Because the real goal here, it isn't just about getting more done or checking off boxes. It's about fundamentally changing who you are.
See, Clear lays out these 3 layers of behavior change. Most of us, we start on the outside. We focus on outcomes, the results we want. Some people go a layer deeper and focus on their process, what they're doing. But the most powerful, most lasting change starts from the absolute core, your identity, what you truly believe about yourself.
Think about it this way. The goal isn't just to write a book, it's to become a writer. The goal isn't to run a marathon, it's to become a runner. When your habits are just an extension of your identity, you don't need motivation anymore. You do it because that's just who you are. Every single time you lace up your shoes and go for a run, you are casting a vote for being a runner.
This quote just perfectly ties it all together, doesn't it? Your goals are great, they give you direction. But when the pressure is on, you don't magically rise to meet your ambitions. You fall back to the level of your systems, those tiny atomic habits you practice every single day. So I'll leave you with this question to think about. What's the 1% change you can make today? What's that one tiny habit that, if you just stick with it, will ultimately shape the person you become? Thanks for joining me for this.